Exit polls have given a thumping majority to the BJP-led NDA government to form the government for the third consecutive time. While numbers may change for the better or worse on June 4th, the trend line across all pollsters is fairly well established. Even the stock markets have given a thumbs up to the exit poll data as well as the 8.2% GDP growth rate for the year gone by. Even as counting day may theoretically throw up a surprise, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is reportedly already setting in motion an action plan for the first 100 days of the new government. And within these 100 days, you'll also see the union budget to be presented in the month of July. So what could the 100-day action plan really look like? Let's try and derive it and make sense of it. First up, a sustained infrastructure push. In the interim budget presented by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman on 1st of February, the allocation towards government's capex, which includes roads, highways, ports, railways as well as airports together, called the government infrastructure, saw a 10% increase, which now stands at 11.11 lakh crore rupees. Next, there is India's manufacturing push in the era of China Plus One. At present, India contributes just 3% to global exports. This number, if Prime Minister Modi has his way, will likely grow manifold in coming years, and that is likely to become the focus in the first 100 days as India intends to become the factory of the world. Now, early success in the electronic space is visible with the likes of Apple, Samsung and now even Google manufacturing smartphones in India. Apple India's output has grown well above expectations. But at this time, China's swift recovery should not also be ruled out. Now, the production-linked incentives, which have really enabled this whole electronic space, has an allocation of 1.97 lakh crore rupees across 14 sectors. Would the Modi government, in its first 100 days, look at revising these 14 sectors and perhaps adding a little more outlay in addition to the 1.97 lakh crores that exists already? Now, which sectors are these going to be where India wants to build its competitive advantage, and which are those sectors which are likely to be prioritized is something we are likely to see in the first 100 days of the new government. Then there's a sunrise sector, and this comes by way of India's effort to double down in the semiconductor space. There's an allocation of 76,000 crore rupees already, but we've also seen early movers like US-based Micron, which is going to look at testing and assembling semiconductors in India. So there's some success in the semiconductor space when foreign capital is taken into account. India's own Tata Electronics has partnered with Taiwanese Power Chips Semiconductor Manufacturing Corporation, and another homegrown Indian company, CG Power, has partnered with Japanese Renesas Electronics Corporation and Thailand's Stars Microelectronics. These have already received the government's approval. Then there is India's renewable energy push, and this has a target of 500 gigawatts of installed capacity by 2030. India also has the ambitious net carbon neutral mission, which it is likely to attain by 2070. And in addition to this, there is a mammoth solar rooftop push for 1 crore houses. These four sectors are likely to be the large thrust areas when you talk about a sustained effort from the Modi government in its first 100 days. And these also serve the multiplier effect. Number one, they are likely to generate more employment, and employment has been a concern if data over the past 1 year or so is to be believed. Then the foreign capital is likely to come in, and India's own private sector is likely to unleash its animal spirits when it comes to large-scale investments in capital. Now, all of this is likely to also add to the already handsome growth numbers which came in at 8.2% for the year gone by. But what the government's first 100 days should but may not be able to solve for are the more complex issues, and these are around land and labor reforms. Both of these have been stuck and we haven't really seen much action. Would the first 100 days be able to address that, or is that going to take longer? It's something we'll have to see. Then there is also talks of GST simplification. Reports have suggested that even as the government prepares for the next budget announcement in July, a simpler GST may well be on the cards, and perhaps the 12% GST slab could be knocked off altogether. Will this mean that the higher 18% taxes will now be applicable on more items and hence a larger cash out for the consumption driving middle class of India? Well, probably yes. Will this be offset by direct tax incentives? Well, that unfortunately looks highly unlikely, because to fund these lofty schemes while keeping the fiscal deficit in control, the government will need tax revenue. And guess who is going to pay that tax revenue? That's going to be people like you and me.